Two other questions. One concerns the present crisis in the church. The other concerns Garabandal. But the
Right.
first is, I'm a friend of Archbishop Vigano. He's been quite critical of many things, but also praised for his willingness to take a difficult stand. The church is still hanging together. The actions of Pope Francis have not yet split us, but there are all sorts of splits emotionally and psychologically. How do you judge this? And as someone who's come in from the Anglican Church and now such a wonderful insight into the history of splits and divisions and then coming back together, what advice can you give us? And who do you respect and appreciate?
Well, I think this is one of the hardest questions anyone could ever ask me or has ever asked me. This requires profound and prophetic wisdom, and I don't have it. I think one thing I'm fairly clear about in my study of church history is that almost all splits have three characteristics. They appear to be a way out of an impossible situation. They are demonic, and they will fail. So the diabolos is the great divider, and wherever the church has divided, it has been weakened. And for example, the schism of 1054 almost certainly played an enormously important part in allowing Islam a much greater purchase in the West. And both the Fourth Crusade and also the gates of Vienna, we have paid the highest possible price for the schism of 1054 and subsequently.
And perhaps even still today.
Absolutely still today. Absolutely. Most emphatically still today. The schism in the Reformation was disastrous because the Reformation churches do many things really quite well. And it's kind of almost in reaction, the Catholic Church has said, well, this is not our stuff. These are not our charisms. We don't do this kind of stuff. I think I was talking about that, when I talked about pastoral alertness and congregational coherence. But on the other hand, splits only happen because the situation seems absolutely impossible. I think it's very, very important to run those splits, that there is no schism. It's very, very important, but I don't know if it'll be possible. If it is at all possible, it should not happen. I think I would say that. There was another question you asked me. I'm so sorry.
I do agree. I've thought all along that if we split sort of conservatives and sort of progressives, we won't end there. We'll end up not with one split like the new Catholics and the old Catholics. No, we'll end up with 25.
Absolutely. And that's a Protestant lesson.
Yeah, so we should hold together somehow and try to meet and talk and reason together and say, look, it seems like you're no longer keeping to the faith. How can we return and break bread together and be sure we're one Catholic, holy, and apostolic church? Garabandal, you mentioned that. I have a funny connection to it because a man read my book about Archbishop Vigano, and then he called me and he said, I have the same name as you. My name is Moynihan. And I have a connection with Garabandal because I'm living in California, but I went there when I was assigned in the Navy in the 1960s to a port in Spain. And I heard about Garabandal as an Irish Catholic. I went up there. So my name is Jeffrey Moynihan, and I met one of the girls and I married her, Jacinta. And he said, her name is Jacinta Moynihan. And when you wrote when you wrote the book, we looked at it and we said, maybe this is somehow connected to Garabandal, and they wanted me to know Archbishop Vigano's thought, or they wanted to know what he thought. And this was a year ago now, and I've been thinking about that idea of a warning and the people having a chance to reflect on whether they've been addicted or cruel or crazy or vicious, and have a type of healing as you, I think, experienced in your own life. So you became interested in Garabandal. What do you think about it?
Fine. Just the other question you asked, just in case we forget, is who influenced you? And you mentioned Vigano. So let me just briefly say a brief list of people: Vigano, Pell, Sarah, Schneider, JP2, above all. But so the kind of people you'd expect that I would be influenced by.
Also Joseph Ratzinger and Pope Benedict.
Absolutely. And I should have mentioned him, emphatically so. His theological writing it has that very rare quality, as John Paul II's did, of being both of combining heart and mind. And this combination of heart and mind is particularly precious in a period of intense secularization. It's one of the things the church should be good at, and every so often we have profound theologians and who are also men of prayer and experience. And JP2 and Ratzinger, Benedict are two fine examples of that. Gavin Mondal interested me because I had never understood Fatima, and I thought Fatima might be too big a mountain to climb. And the reason I was interested in Gavin Mondal is that I was about 9 when it happened, and I thought, well, this is my lifetime. A bit like Padre Pio, I became very interested in him because I'd done quite a lot of work on Seraphim of Sarov, and people would say, the interesting thing is, well, he's 18th century, but he ought to be 14th century, and people would always say that what we hear about the saints has been distorted by hagiography and time. So stuff that happens, stuff that happens in our own time is really very interesting. And I thought, well, also there'll be video cameras at Gavin Mondal. So let me look at, there must be a video recording. I found there were video recordings. Sadly, people have put the most ridiculous Gothic music to it, which is a great shame. I was watching a recording of this in my academic office when a colleague of mine, who was a postgraduate psychologist, walked in, and she said, what on earth are you watching? And I said, well, I don't know. It purports to be 3 children having an experience of the Virgin Mary. We can see the children. We can't see the Virgin Mary. I'm at the very beginning of this journey. I have no idea what I'm watching. And she said, well, whatever the children tell you is happening. So believe the children. And I said, why would you say that? And she said, well, because we've done quite a lot of studies about ecstasy with prepubescent children. And there are a whole load of things that prepubescent children can't fake. Post-pubescent children, it's another matter entirely. But she said these children are right in the category where if they say something is happening to them, you have to have a very good reason for disbelieving them. And so, what would your reasons be for disbelieving what these children are purporting to experience? And I thought, I don't see there are any, apart from the fact that it blows up our categories of time, space, metaphysics, and a number of presuppositions. And there's this wonderful moment when there is a photograph of an angelic host being placed on a child's tongue. If that photograph was not doctored, and there's no evidence it was doctored, then because the photograph is consistent with everything else that happened. And there are a number of other interesting things. One of the things that most interested me was the children used to run into the church, and then the bishop forbade them access to the church. And Our Lady said to them, "I'm very sorry, we'll have to meet outside the church. You must obey the bishop, even though he's wrong, and may not be well motivated. But you must obey the bishop. We will meet outside the church." And I thought that was a fairly that struck me as being a portentous insight that particular apparition offered. So I then became clearer in my own mind that although there were difficulties with Gavin Mondal, and particularly with some of the prophecies, nonetheless, as an event, I was convinced that it was authentic.
Hi, thank you for watching, and be sure to subscribe to our channel by clicking on that red subscribe button and click that bell so you'll be notified when we upload new content. Check out all the links below for subscriptions to Inside the Vatican magazine and to the Moynihan letters, which is free to your inbox. You stay connected. It's content that you can get nowhere else. All that information is below. Thank you.